You said you were at Mount Zion. Hey, brother, ready to go? All right.
I'm gonna get set back here
Good,
tonight and
good,
watch Red
good.
Keys here. He's gonna watch this.
Good. Hey, I like it. One more minute, we'll get started. And thank you guys for cooperating with me tonight and sitting kind of in the middle. And our ladies are downstairs. They had too many ladies for the upstairs. That's a good problem. So they moved them downstairs. Make sure we had a great day at Heritage. I tell you, I think over 1,000 people were tuning in today. Elders from different churches came. In fact, 2 congregations already enrolled. Highland Park, and I think the Cross Point Eldership was talking to us about doing it there. And so we're going to be, I think, doing what we can to help churches. So we're glad to get to know different elders. And I know we have another elder or preacher with us, Mount Zion. Is that right? And so they're all pointing at each other. I don't know if I'm saying it right or not. I apologize, but we're just glad you're here. Really thankful for Petersville. Thank you guys, the elders, for bringing this evangelism seminar to Florence. We did it first in Hatton, Alabama. They've taken off. In fact, Chris Miller, the preacher, was there all day long. He took off work. He was there all day long, and man, he could not be a better ambassador for what we're doing. That church has done such an extraordinary job of really getting out into their community. Chris talked to the group, in fact, talked to them about the change. He said, our church is not the same. He said, it just changed our entire congregation. and in a good way. So I was so thankful to be with those guys, and thankful to be with you guys tonight. And this is a special class because we're going to. This class tonight is the most serious class that I'm going to teach. I'm going to treat you like men. Our ladies aren't with us, and there are times when the men of the church, we have to come together and we have to take ownership of the situation. We have to take ownership of where we're at. And so in 1953, something very interesting happened in this country, and it has to do with the dictionary. I know it's not real exciting, but it really was. It was an historic change. The dictionary committee came together, and they came to the word Christian. And the dictionary committee, a proposal was put forth to change the word. And so anytime a change takes place in a word, an addition, a subtraction, they got to flush it out. And the suggestion was, listen, there's a religious group in this country that's really growing. It's growing quickly. In fact, it pretty much defines the word. 1 out of every 84 people in this country is a member of this religion. And they said, hey, this church is growing so quick, and we believe that it warrants us to add something to the word. And so when they came to the 1953 and all the way through the 1960s dictionary, this is the American College Dictionary, they made that change. And I want to read to you what the American College Dictionary said starting in 1953 about the word Christian. So here, number 1, let's read it together. Pertaining to or deriving from the teachings of Jesus Christ, not earth-shattering. Number 2, believing in or belonging to the religion of Jesus Christ. Number 3, pertaining to Christianity. Number 4, exhibiting the Spirit of Christ. And you just keep reading on, and then you get to the last definition, the one they added. It says a Campbellite, a member of the Church of Christ. Brethren, you grew so quickly in 1953 that they had to put you in the dictionary. They actually altered the definition of the word because the Christians, the Church of Christ, was having a significant impact on culture, and they ran that definition through. And there'll be some of you tonight saying, Rob, Campbellite, can you explain that? And now there's older members who understand that's a term of derision. It was a term used to make fun of the Church of Christ. We got a younger generation in our pews. And very likely you've never been called a Campbellite. And you might be thinking to yourself, isn't that a blessing? Hey, Rob, isn't it a blessing that we're not called Campbellites? Brethren, the reason they don't call you a Campbellite is they don't have to. Because most people don't know the difference between the member of a Church of Christ and a Mennonite. They don't have to make fun of you. They made fun of us because they couldn't stop us. They used those terms to try to squelch the movement. And because we're no longer reaching the lost, we're no longer an evangelistic people, they do not have to recognize you. They don't have to define the word by you. They just ignore you. And most of the people in this world, if you say, hey, Church of Christ, they're thinking, well, what are you, a Mormon? I mean, what's the difference? Are you a Mennonite? Friends, tonight, we need to understand that the church has undergone such a change in our approach to evangelism that we literally, in our pews, are looking at members. By and large, most of our membership, they don't even know what evangelism looks like. And so tonight, what we need to do as men is we need to address that. Now, I want to tell you what happened in 2020. COVID, of course, it came on the scene about the month of March, mid-March. I was in North Carolina. I was traveling back, and some extraordinary things happened in Linville for us. The preachers, Kelly Brown, and I was delivering the final seminar lessons, and during the Sunday morning sermon, I offered the invitation, and Kelly Brown responded. Kelly Brown walked right down the aisle, and I could tell he was struggling just to get down the aisle, and it's not because of his physical health. And he got to me, and he just fell to the floor, and he just sobbed. The elders got out of the pew immediately, and they surrounded him, and they circled up around him, and they were just holding him. And after the invitation song was sung, I sat down. I had no idea what was going on. Kelly Brown composed himself. He walked into the pulpit, and he said something that I'll never forget. He said, "Church," he said, "I have failed. I have completely failed to help this congregation learn how to evangelize." He said, "I take responsibility for that because I'm the guy in the pulpit." He said, "From this day forward, we will evangelize." He said, "I take responsibility. I repent." He said, "But we won't be the same church ever again." And they haven't been. That church has Bible studies, they're baptizing, they're growing. And so that event just sticks out in my mind because I looked at my wife. I said, honey, the brethren are getting it. The changes are taking place. So I'm going home, and I get a phone call from my sister. And I said, hey, Chrissy, what's going on? She says, hey, Robbie, where are you? I said, I don't know. I'm in North Carolina. She says, Robbie, don't you know we're in pandemic? Pandemic? What pandemic? And I said, what's a pandemic? And she said, Rob, she says, haven't you watched the news? I said, I try not to. And she said, Rob, it's called COVID. You've got to get home. She said, right now, I'm at the Sam's in Murfreesboro. The line is wrapped around the store. I'm just trying to get meat, Rob. She says, Rob, do you have any toilet paper? Toilet paper? Honey, do we have toilet paper? We have a few rolls. It's not enough, Rob. There's a shortage. Go get the toilet paper. And so I stopped at the Dollar General. I literally stopped right there. I said, okay, we got to get toilet paper. So I pulled into the Dollar General. I took my buggy down the toilet paper out. I took it all. I took everything they had. I thought we were in crisis. So I took the toilet paper. I went to the register. The cashier looked at me. She said, sir, what are you doing? I said, I'm buying toilet paper. She said, obviously. I went out to the car. My daughter's laughing at me. My son's laughing at me. My wife is laughing at me. Who's laughing now? We had plenty. We just used the last roll about 6 months ago. In any case, so I got home, and the eldership at Jacksonville called me, and they said, man, Rob, can you come? Hey, Rob, we need to talk to you. I had no idea what was about to happen. I pulled into that parking lot, and Alan Webster, Homer Smith, Robert Wyden, and Ralph Hartman were waiting. I sat down in that conference room, and those elders looked at me, and they said, we don't know what to do. Rob, the government's saying that the bodies are going to pile in the street. Millions of people are going to die. They're telling us really that we shouldn't worship. We don't know what to do. Brother, those elders looked at me and they said, what do we do? And I said, I don't know. I said, I have no one to call. I don't know. I have no frame of reference. I mean, we sat there literally for hours talking about reading the Bible, praying, trying to figure out. I'm not Monday morning quarterbacking any eldership. I can tell you it was the most painful thing elders ever went through. Those men tried to do what they thought was right. No one wished it upon them. Our elders made a decision to kind of do a hybrid worship. And so I went back home and I told my wife, I said, the elders would prefer us not to come. And my wife looked at me, to worship? For the next 2 months, we sat in our house like we were supposed to. Brethren, up until that point, we were getting the report of 2 to 3 baptisms every day from the churches in the school. It was working. Do you know how many baptisms were reported in the month of April and May? I'm sitting in my office, and it's at the end of May, and I called over to my wife. I said, honey, I said, have you got any reports of baptisms? She said, no. I said, Hannah, have you got any reports of baptisms? She said, no. We went through 2 months. I had 0 reports of baptisms. Brethren, do you know what happens when the Church of Christ doesn't do her job? Do you realize what happens when we don't get out in our communities and reach the lost? There are no conversions taking place. I was so bothered by what I saw happening that I looked at my calendar, and the next church I was going to was Covington, Tennessee. It's north of Memphis. So I called the elder. His name is Wayne Dalrymple. I said, hey, Wayne. I said, you're on the calendar. First week of June. I said, I'm coming. Hey, Rob, we're not even open. I said, I know. I said, Wayne, I'm going to come, and whatever you want to do, but I am coming. And he says, Rob, I hear you, Rob. He said, Rob, we must evangelize. I said, yes. I said, people are going to the judgment unprepared to meet their God. And where are we? What are we doing? And he said, Rob, you come and I'll do it. It's a church of about 250 people. Mike Rogers preaches there. Justin Rogers' dad, Fried Hardman. And so I pull into the parking lot. They have 50 members, mitigated, fumigated, whatever it is, we're sanitized. We're all over the pew, right? We're all over the auditorium. And we started training. From that day forward, we trained 32 churches of Christ. We went from that point, we went all over the country. We got as far as Idaho, went over here to New Hampshire. I can remember being in Midland, Texas. That's about as desolate as it gets. I'm at a Holiday Inn. I'm the only one there. We are the only one there. I looked at the parking lot. It's empty. I walked up and I said, ma'am, is there anybody here? No, just you. And it was exhausting. And the baptism started to come back. The Bible study started to arrive. We were now getting 3 a day. It was exciting. I looked at my wife. Husbands, you know when your wife is spent. She's done. And I looked at her, I said, Nicole, I said, I know we need time. I said, I tell you what, we got about a week before our next seminar. I said, let's just head to St. Mary's, Georgia. I said, let's take some time. I said, let's just relax. I said, we'll find a place we can just, stretch your legs and we'll just do nothing. And so we pulled into St. Mary's, Georgia, and I called the preacher and I said, hey, Art, I said, I got a favor to ask. I said, I need something to do here in St. Mary's. He said, Rob, this is the deep sea fishing capital of the world. He said, normally you would never get a charter. He says, I know the best captain in the area. Let me call him. The captain actually called me. He says, I understand you want a charter. I said, I do. I said, I got 5. He said, I'll take you. He said, I've got nothing. And I said, great. I said, what time should I be there? He said, about 3 o'clock. I said, Captain, that does not give us a lot of time. He said, oh, no, son. 3 in the morning? I have to tell my wife about this now. And so anyway, we went out there, and we're sitting at the dock. He's got his first mate. He just got out of the Navy. So I mean, he's really buff. He looks like a Navy sailor. And we get in the boat. He's explaining safety procedures. And he said, hey, by the way, what kind of fish do you want? I said, I want the big stuff. I said, none of this in line, inshore. I want out there. He said, son, that's going to take a while. I said, I got a week. He said, all right. He said, you just buckle down. And so we buckled down. We go out and he throttles it down. And I'm excited. First 45 minutes, I don't sleep a wink. And then I just fell asleep. And when the sun started peeking around the horizon, I could see the captain, and I finally saw the helm. Brethren, I'm a pilot. I know what navigational aids look like. Listen, I'm always being captivated by those gadgets. I love them. I've never seen a helm like that. It is completely digitized, automated. He's got radar. He's got depth finders, fish finders, and big screens. And I looked and I said, wow. And he throttles it back. He said, all right, time to catch the bait. So we all got our fishing poles. This Navy guy, he is on point. He gives us each one a pole. We put the lines in the water. The lines draw down into the water. And he starts counting down. He's looking at this radar. He said, we're about on him. He tells his first mate, all right, tell him, pull it in, pull it in. We pulled him in. I had bait fish all over my line. Hooks all down, bait fish everywhere. We're taking that bait fish off. We're putting it in the live well. And then he says, okay, what does he want to get again? I said, the big stuff. He said, another hour. I know where they're at. He throttles it down again. And we go out and he's watching. He finally said, I think I see him. He's watching. He said, first mate, I got him. 2 o'clock, about 100 yards. He says, get him ready. First mate looks over and says, which one of you want to go first? One at a time. I said, I'll go first, sir. He says, good, buckle him in. Brother, I've never been buckled in before to go fishing. And so they buckle me in, and they're hooking things up, and the pole is about as thick as my arm, right? So we throw it out there, and he said, keep the line going, keep the line going. He said, about right there. And he's watching. He said, son, be ready. You're within any second. He said, be ready. And all of a sudden the pole goes zzz. And he said, all right, just let it take the line. He said, you got it, son. He said, now hook it. And we jerk it up. And now he says, now what we're going to do is a bobbing motion. We're going to go back and forth, back and forth. So he's teaching me how to do it. My wife, she's got a video camera right here. Man, this is awesome. Finally, it jumps out of the water. I said, Captain, what is that thing? It's huge. He said, son, we call that a kingfish. He said, there's a reason they're called a kingfish. And I said, wow. And so it takes me 10, 15 minutes to get this thing. Captain, how are we going to get that thing in the boat? He says, we're going to lower the backside and hook it in and pull it. And I said, wow. And so it's getting right to the point where it gets into the boat. And all of a sudden, on the left-hand side of my eyes, something flies out of the water. And it comes out and slices my fish in half. Captain, what happened to my fish? Well, son, we call that a barracuda. And there's a reason we call them barracudas. Now, I still had this much fish. It was still huge. By 2 o'clock that afternoon, that captain looks at us. He said, all right, you got your limit. We're going in. He knew his trade. He knew everything about it. He didn't complain when he had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. He had all the equipment where he needed it. He invested the time. He invested his energy. He put everything into it. I said, Captain, how did you learn to do that? I gave my life to it, son. That's all I do. I read every magazine. I get all the equipment. He says I do it every day. We pull into the dock. We're getting the fish out and, cleaning them and everything. And I am just amazed. Brethren, I think we've got men in our auditorium right now tonight. I think we're more qualified. I think we're more motivated. I think we're more passionate to go out there and get the big buck, to go out there and get our catfish, than we are to go out and save souls. We got men who spare no expense. If we say you got to get up at 3 in the morning to go get your deer, you get up at 3 in the morning. And if it comes to putting our corn out, feeders out, getting the camouflage, making sure we have the latest technology, we don't just have the cameras, we got the Wi-Fi camera. We can sit in our office and watch that buck go by. We know what time he comes, and we're completely prepared. No one complains. If we were half as passionate about our Lord Jesus as we are about our hobbies, if we are half as passionate about reaching our neighbors and our friends, and if we were to put the time into it, brethren, the only way our churches succeed in turning the ship is we've got to commit ourselves. We've got to commit ourselves to reaching the lost. It's got to be your passion. So how much do you love your friend? How much do you love them? How much do you care? Because you may be the only link they've got. Your neighbor is depending on you. Your best friend, that's it. Your son, your mother, your grandparents, your co-workers, they're depending on us. Brethren, tonight I'm asking you to stand in the gap. We need to be men. We need a good dose of testosterone in our pews. We've got to understand this is going to take some work. And I believe we're up to the task. I believe we can do this. But look at your elders. Not without you. They're good men, but they cannot do this without you. Your preacher, there is no way he succeeds without you. If there's one message I like to leave at church is that we can't do this without you. We need your help. We need the members to do their job. You don't have to be Adam. You don't have to preach a sermon. We just need one Adam. Wouldn't you agree? Just one. My wife would say, just one Rob is fine. Any more would kill me. But brethren, there are things that you can do that Adam can't. You can bring him a name. You can tell him, I got a friend going through a really rough time. He's really struggling. He just needs someone to talk to. Would you go with me? Maybe we can just go pray for him. Can you introduce him? Maybe again, there are things that you can offer that Adam just can't do, that Lucas can't do. And so what I want to do tonight, I'm going to lay this out in like a 10,000-foot view. I'm just going to give you 10 things a church can do in order to succeed reaching lost people. And this is the order. This is how I would lay it out. So if I was going to encourage a church to reach the lost, the first thing I do is have a plan. So we're not just going to throw Jell-O on the wall and hope it sticks. We need to make sure that it actually sticks. Now, can you unfreeze the PowerPoint, Adam? Winston Churchill said something that was very, very important. He said, he who fails to plan is planning to fail. You know when he said that? That was for the Parliament. That was before the Parliament of Britain, right before World War II started, and his country was in trouble. And he looks at the Common and he says, listen, if we don't have a plan, we're going to lose this war. He said, we've got to engage, and we've got to engage right now. Brethren, I'll stop by to tell you tonight, if we don't engage, we're going to lose. You won't survive this one. Our churches are closing their door at an incredible rate. Some of the elders that came to see me today said, Rob, just 3 years ago, we had 350 members. We have 40 now. Rob, that was just 3 years. Brethren, I see it all over this nation. I travel the nation. I go into these church buildings. They seat 500, 1,000. I went to one church that could seat 1,500 people. They had 80 members left. I don't believe it's too late. I really don't believe that we've lost. But I believe we're behind the curve. I believe there's some battles that we've lost. But the war is not yet lost. And we can turn things around. And I'm thankful for the Petersville Church. I'm thankful for the work you're doing. But Adam and I had a heartfelt talk yesterday morning. Brethren, let's talk about the growth you're having. Families are coming. Praise God. But are conversions happening? Are we getting these people from our communities? Are they neighbors? And one of the dangers we have, and I spoke about this today at Heritage, and I love the brotherhood. I said, brethren, are we growing? Is the kingdom growing? Or are we cannibalizing churches? I don't think you do it on purpose. I don't really think any church does it on purpose. At least I hope not. But you go from church to church. This church is the happening thing. So people come here, and you got a good preacher. You got youth. They come here, and then a group goes over here. And oh, look at Rob. We picked up 30 members, but you haven't grown. The kingdom is not growing. So what's the plan? Well, you gotta get the equipment. You got to make sure that the equipment, if you can, there it is, you got to get the equipment. You're not going to evangelize if you don't equip your membership. Brethren, I'm going to ask the elders to consider something. Invest in your members. I don't want you to, don't forget Adam, forget Lucas. Invest in these men here. Invest in their families. We've got to equip them with the tools to do the job. Your membership cannot evangelize if they do not have the equipment to do it. And when it comes to equipping our churches, listen, we're all prepared. Listen, we've got coffee pots, coffee stirrers, coffee creamers, coffee cups, coffee filters, coffee maker. We have everything we need for our coffee. And if your refrigerator goes out, there's not a second thought, we'll replace it. We got everything we need for our teachers. We got crayons and markers and map pencils and we got scissors, and don't forget the safety scissors, and we got glue sticks and glue, and we got poster and astrobrite paper and copy paper, and we got everything we need. I'm asking you a question tonight, brothers. Do we have what we need to reach the lost in our community? Is it in your church building? I walked in, I got to a church, and I said, brother, I said, can I ask you a question? I said, we got an hour before we were starting. And I said, if I'm a member, make me George. I'm just George. All right, George. Hey, Brother Haberman, do we have the materials? I got a neighbor. I need to do a Bible study. Do we have something I can use? He said, oh, preacher, we saw you coming. We knew this was, hey, we got prepared. He said, follow me. So I walked down this hallway, and the light switches are turning on, you know. We get to the end of the hallway, and he goes, it's in here, preacher. And we try to open the door. It's locked. We can't get in. He gets the ring of keys, and we go through them. We get into the door, and we walked into this room. He turns on the lights. He said, preacher, they're in here somewhere. And as he's, they're in the locker. Of course, it was locked. We couldn't get to them. And he said, preacher, I know they're in here. I put them in here myself. He goes through the ring of keys. We finally open the locker. We pull out a stack of Back to the Bible. He said, preacher, we're prepared. How many do you need? I said, brother, why are the evangelism tools that the members need? Why are the tools that we need to teach the lost locked in a room and locked in a locker? He said, we were afraid they might get them. Isn't that the point? Don't we want them to get them? Brother, your members are not going to dig through a filing cabinet. They're not even going to the library. They are not going to walk. You've got to put it out there where people can get it. We have got to get the materials. We've got to get, if you don't want to use Back to the Bible, use something, but you've got to use something. We've got to put it in their hands. Whether you use Fishers of Men, Open Bible Study, Jewel Miller, Back to the Bible, doesn't matter. We've got tools. We don't need to rewrite evangelism. We just need to stock it up. We have got to put it out there where people can get it. Do not lock it away. Get the materials and put it out there. In fact, I would suggest this. Why don't we make an evangelism table? And let's put the equipment out there where people can get to it. Let's make it available. Let's make sure our members can pick it up. Let's make sure they have access to it. And how hard would it be for a church to put a table up there at maybe this door and this door, and make sure that we've got members and say, hey, we've got evangelism materials. And you say, Rob, we got a track rack. Do you know what the conversion rate is with the track? 1%. 1%. You know what it is with that? 90%. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 people you take through a Bible study, they become Christians. But I'm talking about here, we got a track rack. I'm not talking about track rack. I'm talking about making sure that they have the materials to evangelize. That they have the Does It Matters, to Believe the Bibles, the Back to the Bibles, the door hangers, the bookmarks, digital resources, because I promise you that your membership is not going to evangelize if you don't equip them. Put it out there where they can get it. Number 3. How many of you men have ever been to a training class for work? Raise your hand. All right, put your hands down. I think everybody in this room understands the value of training. They're going to train you how to have quality control. They're going to train you on safety features. They're going to train you how to use your IT equipment, how to use your mechanical equipment. And if need be, they're going to send you overseas for training on the very equipment that has been designed so you do it right. Training is so important. And in fact, my dad was in charge of training for Delta Airlines. That was his job. And and they were constantly training their pilots, constantly training their mechanics. I mean, it was meticulous. Every so often, they had to come in and be certified, because if they don't train properly, people are going to lose their life. Now, let me ask a question again. How many of us have ever been to a class at church that trained us what to do when a visitor, what to do when a new mover, when someone moves into our community, what's our plan? How many of you have been to a training class like that? I grew up in the church. I've never been. How many of us have been to a training class what to do when a visitor or guest walks in the door? How many of us have been to a training class that says, what do we do when we have a new convert? What's our goal? What's our end game? If you were to push me, and I know there's several of these line items, but if you really pushed me tonight and you said, Rob, please tell us what's the number one thing you see that's inhibiting evangelism, and my answer's changed over time, but I'm convinced tonight it's training. We're not trained. Our people don't know how to do it. They've never been taught. No one has had classes. And so you say, well, Rob, if we do a class on Monday night, we're not going to get enough people. I get it. We're not going to do it on Monday night. Guess when you need to train them? Sunday morning, when everybody's in the pew. And we're going to have sermons and classes, and we're going to make sure everybody understands what's going on. And so we're not going to wait for a Monday night, a Tuesday night. We're going to do it on Sunday when everybody sits in the pews. And brethren, we're going to practice a congregational model. We've got to train. Hey, anybody know the name Cliff Goodwin? Cliff Goodwin, he is an incredible preacher. Anybody know the name James Watkins? Some more people. James Watkins was, he was an incredible preacher on the air for many years. And I got Mac Lyons. Mac Lyons and James Watkins. When Brother Watkins passed away, right before he passed away, he chose Cliff Goodwin to replace him. Cliff is an incredible preacher. And he calls me up and he says, hey, Rob, can we enroll? I said, absolutely. Man, I looked forward to that. Cliff and I are friends. So I got to Ironton. We trained the church. So Cliff and I stay in contact, but I felt awkward asking him how things were going just because we're really close friends. So I just kind of let it be. But about 2 months into it, I said, Cliff, I said, how are things going? He said, Rob, I can't wait to tell you. He said, we've had more baptisms the last couple months than I've seen in years. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, Cliff, I said, you're a very talented preacher. I expect it. He says, no, it's the widows. The widows? You're baptizing them? No, Rob. He said, we taught them how to use the evangelism material, and they're doing Bible studies with their neighbors. I said, what? He said, and my daughter Kinley's had 3. I said, Kinley is baptized 3? He said, Rob, he says, it's amazing what happens when you train your members. You know why most of our members don't evangelize? They've never been trained. It's obvious you love the Lord. You're here. What do I do? What do I say? I don't want to say the wrong thing. And so if we don't train our people, if we don't put tools in their hands and show them how to do it, they're not going to do it. Cliff said, Robert, it was amazing. It was so simple. He said, we just gave everybody the basics. And we sat through for several Sundays teaching them how to do it. He says, then they took it and they went out to do it. Last month, Eric Sykes says, hey, Rob, I'm going to train the church how to use the backdoor method. It's one of the steps we take in our school. That's a church of 60 people. He calls me on Monday. He says, we have 19 Bible studies set up the next week. I wonder how many Bible studies you could set up with 200. Now, I got to teach you what the backdoor method is. The backdoor method is very effective at getting Bible studies. And so I'm convinced tonight, I'm really convinced, I'm speaking to elders tonight, I'm convinced if the members know what to do, they'll do it. In fact, I think most members, they can't wait to do what the elders ask them to do. They want to be asked. I think, Adam, it is the case that a lot of people in churches, they're longing to do something. And so they just don't know what it is. So we have to train. Let's go to number 4. We got to create an evangelistic environment in our church. We got to make sure that our church, let me put it in these words. I want you to take a funnel that's called evangelism. I want you to stick it in the church, and nothing goes into that church if it's not evangelism. Rob, are you trying to get rid of our graduation banquets? No. I just want you to make it evangelistic. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. So when you have a graduation banquet and your son or your daughter is about to graduate, do you know the opportunity they have? You go to your son and say, son, you got some favorite teachers, some friends, some neighbors. Remember Miss Sue across the street just loves you? Go invite them to come. Tell them you're having a banquet at your church and you'd like them to be your guest. That's a contact. And that's all we're asking for. It's an opportunity. The Carnes Church of Christ, and I want to use this example. So we're in Knoxville, and the eldership calls me and they say, hey Rob, you're coming to Carnes. I said, yes sir. And they said, we're about 425. I said, yes. We think a backpack drive would be really complimentary in what you're doing. I said, I agree. I love backpack drives. They said, would you help us set it up to be evangelistic? We don't just want to pop backpacks into cars. I said, I will. I got there. I met with the deacons. I met with the elders. And they said, Rob, what do you think? I said, I think you should take all the backpacks. They'd have collected hundreds of them. I said, I think you should put them in the classrooms. Oh, Rob, we had a big cart we got. And we were going to put them on the carport, and they're going to come by, and we're just going to give them a backpack and a track. I said, I wouldn't do that. Rob, do you want us to put them inside the church? I said, yes, I want you to put them in class 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9. I said, and when they arrive, I want them to walk in your church building. And when they walk into your church building, I want you to have members to give them an open house tour of your beautiful church building. And I want you to walk into the classroom where their children would attend if they came. Introduce them to the teacher. Then I want you to give them their backpack. I want you to take them to the fellowship hall where there's going to be a beautiful meal prepared and invite them to sit and eat with you. And while you're doing that, ask the 3 introductory questions that I taught you this week and see what they say. Then I want you to get a contact card, get their information, then escort them to their car. Rob, we can't pass out 700 backpacks like that. I said, no, you can't, but you'll have a Bible study, and they did. The very night we did that, Steve Higginbotham is having a Bible study with someone who came. That's evangelism. Brethren, the Lions Club can pass out backpacks. The Rotary Club can give out eyeglasses. That's not our job. In fact, didn't Jesus say the poor will always be with you? You're not going to solve world poverty at Petersville. That's not your job. We're never going to solve all the ills of the world. That's not the work of the church. What is the work of the church? The work of the church is to what? Teach the gospel. And so, yes, we want to help people. But everything we do from this point forward, it's all about evangelism. I called the church in San Antonio, Northern Oaks, and they've really done well. They have about 40 baptisms the last 2 years. I said, hey, Mel, where do most of your baptisms come from? He says, Sunday morning. I said, well, tell me about that. He said, we have visitors every week. I said, okay. He said, every time a visitor walks in our auditorium or our building, we introduce them, we talk to them, and we let them know that we have an introductory class for visitors. It's a special class just for them. We take them to the room. We have 3 or 4 rooms set up, and inside that room, of course, is back to the Bible, and we have Bible study. Someone raised their hand when I said that. A man raised his hand. He looked at me and says, is it scriptural to do Bible studies during Bible class? Brethren, if we can't do Bible studies during Bible class, maybe we should just quit now. Okay? This is what we're supposed to be doing. And so that's one of the keys. All right, we got to engage people. We got to make sure that, again, evangelism is, Brother Ivan Stewart used to say this. He said, one of the greatest opportunities the Church of Christ has for evangelism is in our Bible classes. I tell you what, Adam, I'll challenge you to do something. I've never done this. I'd like to know what happens. On Sunday morning during Bible class, ask this question. Who here, does anybody here have a Bible study going on? And if somebody raises their hand, say, tell us all about it. That's what Ivan Stewart used to do. He said, just tell me what's going on. Tell me who it is, who you're studying with right now. Let's pray about that study. What happens if every time we met, the first thing we talked about, every time the elders had a meeting, the first day we met Chris Miller, we were sitting there eating, had a big cafeteria, was full today. He looks across the table, he said, hey, Rob. He said, I just thought of something. He said, since we've done this, since we enrolled a year and a half ago, the first thing my elders talk about every time we meet is evangelism. It's the number one item we talk about. So we never talked about it before we did this. We never talked about the lost. We didn't talk about, our prospects and what we're doing to reach them. He said, Rob, it's literally reshaped the church. He said, Rob, the first thing our elders do every Sunday, the first thing to do right in the beginning of worship is an elder walks up and he says, everybody, get out your bookmarks this morning. You'll learn about that soon. I want you to everybody look at their names. Let's pray for them right now. He said, we pray for the lost every time we start worship. Brethren, I'm going to suggest if we don't change the culture in our churches, if we don't work, I'm not talking about our doctrine. I'm talking about our emphasis, our focal point. Can you imagine every time you meet, you're praying for lost people? I mean, we don't skip an opportunity to pray for our safety. Oh, Lord, keep us safe as we travel home. Do you ever remember a prayer that skipped that? We pray that every time. When's the last time we prayed about people that are lost? When's the last time we offered a prayer for the people in our community that need the gospel? Lord, give us wisdom, give us courage. How about Ephesians 6? Open a door of utterance. Help me, Father, reach those people in our community that are lost, the people that are in my life. If we prayed that every time we met, I just wonder what our children would do after 10 years of that. Churches understand, things like benevolence. I mean, we have benevolent buildings and vouchers and blessing boxes and turkey giveaways and t-shirt supplies and backpacks and winter coats. I just have one question, and I ask it respectfully. How many baptisms? I mean, how many Bible studies? I mean, we put a lot of energy into these things. But are we turning these in some way into an evangelistic work? Or is this just kind of like a civil service? Is it kind of like, we get a point because we passed out turkeys? I'm not against turkeys. Give your turkeys away. But let's make it evangelistic. We can do that. Her name is Kim, and Kim called the building and said, she says, I got that house to house, and it says you offer community services. Yes, ma'am. What community services do you offer? I said, all of them. And she says, well, I want to come to that church. And she says, I said, I don't have a car. And I said, we'll pick you up. And so Miss Deborah Rice drove over and picked up Kim and brought her to the church. And just so happened that we were there that Sunday. She said, hey, Rob, this is a contact. And she wanted community service. I said, great, Kim, great, sit down. And so we sat down. She was just during worship. And we after worship, I said, Kim, what do you need? Need a little food. I said, no problem. I said, would you like to eat with us? We got to eat lunch. Well, that would be nice. So we went to eat lunch, and I asked my 3 introductory questions. And I take her over to the Dollar General. She gets a little bit of food. I said, Kim, we'll take you home. And she takes we go to her house. I said, Kim, we'll carry it in. We carried it in. I walked inside of her house. It is infested with mold. I said, Kim, have you been sick since you've moved in? Ever since I moved in, can't get rid of this cold, Rob. I said, Kim, you have a mold problem. Who owns this? Oh, well, this is the government. Oh, this is government housing. I said, we'll fix this. So we made a phone call. Within 3 days, they had a brand new place available. And so she says, Rob, I can't move. I'm not physically able to do it. And I said, Kim, it's okay. We had men in trucks pull up they're pulling their trailers. And so these men pull up in our trucks, and we unloaded her house, and we took her to the new house, right? And so as we're doing that, Nicole and I are sitting on this sofa talking to Kim. Now I'm going to ask the 3 transition questions, Adam. Y'all remember what those questions are? You're going to learn them. Number 1, hey, Kim, what do you think about the Jacksonville Church of Christ? Oh, that's a nice church. I mean, what y'all have gone you've gone all out for me. I said, all right. Number 2, Hey, Kim, do you know a lot about the Jacksonville Church of Christ? Oh, not a lot, but except you're the nicest people I've ever met. Number 3, I got one more. It's a done deal. Hey, Kim, would you like to know more about us? No, you're the meanest people in the world. What do you think she said, fellas? Oh, yeah, I'd like to know more about you. Good, because I just so happen to have, let me see if I have them here. Let me see. These little booklets. I always have my booklets because I have one mission, Lucas, just one thing. We opened them up. We did our Bible. What do you think happened after Kim finished? You can meet her today. She's at the Jacksonville Church of Christ. We did it 17 times in 1 year. I remember when I first got there, the elders said, Rob, we believe you. We know this can work. The members don't. You'll have to prove it. After 17 baptisms, they believed. They said they've never seen this before. One preacher came up to me today at Heritage. He says, how do I get my church to believe? I said, do it. I said, just do it. He said, they'll see it. I mean, I'm sorry that you can't get them to buy. I'm sorry your elders don't believe. I'm sorry this is happening. Because, I mean, he was teary-eyed. He said, I've been trying for years to get this church. Oh, you'd know the church if I named it. They just won't do it, Rob. I've done everything in my power. I said, just do it yourself. I said, just do it yourself. Number 5, produce contacts. That's the number 1 job. That is the most important thing. You got to produce contacts. Because if you don't have any contacts, you're going nowhere. Now, I'm going to save my best for the elders tonight. I've got a private lesson for your elders. I'm going to save that. I'm going to save the best for them. But I'm going to give you just a few. All right, number 1, promote your church. Advertise. Let them know you're here. Let the community know, hey, the Petersville Church of Christ is right here. Here's our time of services. All right, here's the community services. This is what we offer. This is our Facebook page. This is our website. This is our phone number. Every time I go to a church, you know what I do? I take their house to house, heart to heart, and I call the number. Guess how many times I get a human being? Anybody here own a business? Anybody here own a business or have owned a business? Okay, what kind? Propane gas company. Let's say you put out a brochure, advert. What's it called? Fawn Gas. You put out a flyer, Fawn Gas, and you have a phone number. But every time somebody tries to call Fawn Gas, they can't get a human being. How long do you stay in business? So when people receive a promotional advertisement and the phone number is listed on the front page, but yet no one answers the phone, brethren, I can't get a hold of the church. And I'm trying. And I call, and I call, and I call. And I've done this in many places. And I'll just call, and I'll call. Hey, no one ever answers. How often? How many churches of Christ are there in this area? Oh, we'll just go to the next one. Somebody's got to answer the phone. And your secretary can't live here 24/7, neither can Adam. So how do you fix that? Why don't we forward the numbers to our preacher? Why don't we make sure why don't we put the elder's phone number there? I mean, Terry, we walked into Slim Chickens. I don't know if you noticed, every now and then Hannah would whisper something to us. And I hope it didn't disturb you, but she was amazed with you. I mean, she was captivated because every human being that walked in Slim's Chicken knew you. And you knew every single person. There wasn't a soul in that establishment that did not know you. Brother, you're a walking advertisement. I mean, you're a walking church, and they know it. And so contacts are so important. And so as we're developing the evangelism model, that you know people, the more people you know, the more valuable your service is for this church, because you're able to connect with people. And so if you were to advertise this, let me give you just one. I've got so much here. If you were to say this, free community services, I guarantee they're calling. Well, let me give you a second one. Free transportation to the building. They're calling. Her name is Ellen, and she sat in the back left-hand corner. I had come in after a 3-week trip, and it was Saturday night late. I got up Sunday morning, and my wife, she's exhausted. She's in bed. She don't feel good. I got up, and I'm here at the church, and I looked over my left-hand shoulder, and I see this woman, and I really don't know who she is. And Alan Webster finishes his sermon. He walks back. I walk with him. I said, Alan, who's this lady? And he said, first-time visitor. I said, yes. So that reinvigorated me. And so I went ahead and sat right behind her for the closing song and prayer. She pops up, turns around, there I am. Ma'am, I said, are you visiting this morning? She said, yeah. I said, well, I'm a member here. My name's Rob Whitaker. Well, Rob, I said, ma'am, where are you from? Oh, just down the street. I said, you by yourself? No. My husband, well, he got sick. He had to leave early. I said, well, ma'am, can I ask you a question? Well, sure. I said, what do you think about the preaching? Man, that preacher loves the Bible. I said, she said, I love the Bible too. I said, I do too. I'm glad you're here. I said, I sure would like to meet your husband. I'm going to bring him back tonight if I got to drag him here. She looked at me and she said, you got an evening service. Glad we weren't closed. Brethren, our churches will not become more faithful by having less word. I don't know what the trend is right now. I don't know why our churches are cutting out the second service. I highly encourage you not to do that. We will not become more faithful. We're not going to become stronger. We're not going to become more service-oriented by worshiping less. And I said, yes, ma'am, we meet about 5. We meet at 6 o'clock. She said, I'll be back. Sure enough, she was. She was in the back corner of the building. My wife and I sat right. My wife's feeling better. She brings her husband. His name is Perry. I start talking to her. I use the introductory questions. And as we're talking, I said, Perry, I said, we have a little custom here at this church. We love to take families out to eat. Where's your favorite restaurant, Perry? He said, Athena's. Oh, boy. Athena's. I said, be glad to take you. He said, but if I'm going to Athena's, Rob, I want to eat. I said, what day do you want to do? Tuesday. He said, I don't feel well tonight. And I said, okay. So we made our reservations. We went to Athena's. We walk in. I could care less about the lasagna. I have one mission. I sit around that table and I'm looking and I'm probing. I'm asking the introductory question. Here's my third question. Hey, Perry, what do you like to do? I like sports. I like to watch sports. You like to watch the NFL? No. He said, disrespectful. I don't watch them anymore. I said, me neither. Perry, you like to watch NBA? Bunch of thugs. I don't watch them anymore either. I said, me neither. I said, Perry, what do you like to watch? He said, oh, Rob. He said, it's all about the college now. He said, that's the way to go. And he said, Rob, go Alabama. Oh, no. Go Alabama. Brethren, if I got to like Alabama football to get a Bible study, so be it. I'll root for you. Go Tide. I said, go Saban. And he said, man, Rob, we're going to make a statue for Nick Saban. I said, I don't doubt it. And in any case, so we're talking Nick Saban, and I'm congratulating him on such a wonderful, and we're talking, all the records they broke. And he says, I said, oh, Perry, I'm so sorry about this year. I know, Rob, we're not in the national championship game. We shouldn't be there, Rob. And I said, I know. Hey, Perry, wait a minute. Tomorrow is the game. It's Monday night. Yeah, are you going to watch it? Yeah. I said, Perry, tomorrow night at my house, we're having a football party. Would you like to come? What was that? That was my wife kicking me. She did not know about this party. And so I said, yes, we're having a party. You're coming over. And he looks at his wife. He says, honey, can we come over? She says, well, why not? And she looks at my wife and says, can I bring anything? And of course, says, no. She looks at me. And anyway, they come over to the house. It was a blowout. First half, it's a terrible game. Now it's my turn. I said, hey, Perry, I said, why'd you come to the Jacksonville Church of Christ? He said, Rob, I'll just be honest. My church doesn't follow the Bible anymore. You guys started sending house to house, heart to heart 21 years ago. I read it every time. He said, Rob, y'all follow the Bible, and we just wanted to check you out. I said, would you like to know more about the Jacksonville Church of Christ? He said, we would. I said, because I just so happen to have these little booklets. And I said, we could sit down and do them. He said, that sounds good to me. Football game's terrible. What do you think happened after we did that? We baptized them. You got to promote events on the back of your, you got to promote your event. So let me give you some events that draw people. Someone said at Heritage today, I said, give me an event that draws people. Gospel meetings. I said, nope. Oh, but you got Dan Winkler. Nope, they don't know who Dan Winkler is. They don't care. Oh, but if you bring in David Shannon, they don't know David Shannon. They don't care. Kirk Brothers. Nope, they don't know Kirk Brothers either. I said, give me something that draws people. What brings people? Adam, preacher. What brings people to this church building? What thing do you do all year long? Do you get more people here than any other thing you do? Non-Christians, they just pile in. Trunk or treat. There you go. Advertise it. And we're going to make it an evangelistic event. You say, how do you make a trunk or treat an evangelistic event? Here's what you do. You advertise, we're going to have a soup contest. All the men bring your favorite soup. They will pile in the building. We had 30 soups laying across. These are non-Christians. They're coming because they want to get the reward. They want to get the prize. And so they got all their soups, and all the men, every man thinks he makes the best chili. I don't know what it is. We all think our chili's the best. And now we're judging the chilies, and we have a fellowship hall full of men. What's another one? Give me another one. They just come. People. Breakfast with Santa. All right, we're going to advertise it. We're going to make sure everyone in the community knows because we want to pack it. What's another one? Vacation Bible School. What about VBS? I mean, they pour on in. So let's put things on the back of it and let's advertise the things that bring people. We need people. We need a lot of people. That's contacts. Let's give things away. And we do it every time. We're going to give away posters, and we're going to give away tracts, and we're going to give away books, and we're going to give away marriage materials. And guess what happens when we do that? Hey, Rob. Yes, Deb? We got somebody requesting some marriage materials. I said, what's her name? Brenda. Hey, Rob, should we mail it to him? I said, no. Well, Rob, we always mail it. And that's why you don't baptize. I said, we don't mail things. I said, put it in my box when I get back from Texas. Okay, Rob, we'll put it in your box. I got back and I went to my box and I brought it out. And Nicole and I went to Brenda's house and we knocked on the door. And she opened it. She, yes, can I help you? I said, yes, ma'am. My name's Rob, my wife, Nicole. We're from house to house. Oh, yes. You asked for some marriage material. Oh, yes, I did. And well, that was so nice of you to hand deliver it like this. I said, we just wanted to meet you. Did you just get married? I did. How long ago? A month ago. I said, well, where are you from? Oxford. We're glad you moved here. Do you know much about Jacksonville? Don't know anything about Jacksonville. I said, do you need to find? Yeah, where's the post office? I said, right over here. Go 3 streets over. And we're talking. She said, sir, wait a minute. Wait. She said, sir, do you know anything about church? I said, oh, yeah, just a little bit. Yes, ma'am. She says, well, I got a problem. The man I married, his name is Daniel. Daniel knows nothing about the Bible. And she says, I need to talk to somebody that knows something about the Bible. Do you know something about the Bible? You could have blown me over. I said, yes. I said, I know a little bit. She said, well, good. She said, just wait right here. I mean, she's serious about this. This woman walks over. Daniel's asleep on the couch. Daniel, get up. Daniel, what do you... This man, she looks back at me. All he does is sleep when he gets home. I don't know what he does all day. Daniel, get up. There are guests here. Daniel comes. He's 6'4". He comes to the door. He's looking at me. And she said, this is exactly how she's doing it. I'm going to try to mimic this woman. She goes, Daniel, we're going to teach you the Bible. I said, ma'am, when would you like to start this? She said, tomorrow. And I said, we'll be here. She'll make chocolate chip cookies. We baptized 7. What would have happened if I mailed it? I like my way of doing things better than your way of not doing things. Brother, a little bit of something's better than a whole lot of nothing. If we sit in our church buildings, I promise we won't get those people. They're not coming. They are not visiting. We have to go to their door. We have to meet them. We have to reach out. We had 7 baptisms as a result of that knock on the door. Let's keep going. We got to build a target list. Who's on your list? You have a list, don't you? I think I saw some of you populating your list during the seminar. The people you know. These are the people, Rob, that I know, and I'm going to reach them. Every member of this church needs a list. I need you to write down the people that you know. We're going to ask for it. We're going to work with you to develop this list. It's very important. In fact, it may be very soon. All right. So we're going to learn how to knock a door. Why don't we knock doors? Why don't we like to knock doors, Adam? Our members, they don't like to do it. Why? I mean, I want you to be honest with me. Just say that. What's the reason the average member does not like to knock a door? Why? They don't want to get rejected. The rejection rate is high. How about if I guaranteed, and I will guarantee it. I'll guarantee this. If you'll go through our training on knocking doors, you'll get a 30% success rate. It's a bold statement. So we were at Carnes, and the elders told me and said, Rob, it won't work here. It's upper middle class. I said, it will. But Rob, it won't. I said, it will. And I said, would you let me try? We went to 9,800 doors. We found 3,400 people home. We made 1,013 contacts. After 2 days of doing it, the elders came to us and said, could you stop? We have too many contacts. You say, Rob, that's just an anomaly. Okay, I did it at Rome, Georgia. Then we went to Cleburne, Texas. Then we went to Cary, North Carolina. And then we went over to Rome, Georgia. Then we went back across and we went to, where was the next one? We just did it at Canyon Lake. Raul and Jesse just did it. They took a group of Freed Hardman students. And they did it there again. They said, Rob, we hit about 28%. I said, that's about where it's at. It's 25 to 33 is where we see it. He said, how in the world do you get those numbers? You got to be trained. Because we send members out. We never teach them what to say. We don't teach them what to do. Because we think when you knock a door, we should, hey, would you like to study the Bible? No, I don't. That's the last thing you should be saying. Would you like to come to our gospel meeting? No, I don't. I don't even know you. I don't say those things. I'm going to teach you how to knock a door and make a friend. It works about 25 to 30% of the time. How about new movers? How many people are moving into Petersville? I mean, right here, Petersville. How many people move into Petersville every month? I'm not talking about the rest of the county, the city. Just right around your church building. We already did it. We paid for it. We have a group. It's a company. We paid them. I said, I want to know. You have 14 families moving here every month in Petersville. Families, 14. Right now, my wife is teaching your ladies how to go shopping in the name of the Lord. And they're going to go God-authorized shopping, and they're going to make new mover baskets. That's at the Dollar Tree. $10. Wait a minute. Biden inflation, $12.50. And now, I mean, they're $12.50 now. And so we're going to go make our $12.50 baskets, and we're going to go door to door to these new movers, and we're going to give them a gift from the church. But before we do that, we're going to send them a postcard. We're going to send them a house-to-house magazine, and we're going to make sure, and we're going to train you what to say. What would happen if we went to 14 families a month and we were the first church to knock on their door? Let me quote David Shannon. This is what David said. David said, hey, Rob, he said, he said this at Polishing the Pulpit. People are most likely to change churches when they move. A couple of generations ago, if a couple or a family or an individual moved from one city to another city, they usually stayed at that same denomination. Those days are over. It doesn't matter to me what denomination they were in the last town. Your average person today is willing to look at any church in their neighborhood. That is a powerful opportunity for evangelism. It doesn't matter to me what church they were in the last town. I want them to visit a church of Christ. We're not living in 1970, 80, or even 90. When someone moves into a community, they don't care where they go to church. Methodist, Episcopalian, Church of Christ, don't matter. I just want to go to a church. Why not here? If you don't invite them, they're not coming. What if you were the first church to knock on their door? And you gave them a gift. And said, hey, I'm your neighbor. I just wanted to welcome you to the community. What do you think they're going to do? Cuss you? No. In fact, they're going to say, thanks, hey. And you're going to say, hey, where are you from? Where'd you move from? Colorado. Colorado. Wow, we're in Colorado. Man, I love Colorado. Hey, are you a hunter? Yeah, man, we hunt. I said, I am too. No, we don't have elk. We got some big bucks. And we start talking about hunting. And they said, now, where are you from again? I said, well, just right down the road here in Petersville. In fact, our church made you this nice gift basket. Oh, that's really nice. You go to church? I do. Well, we don't have a church yet. Oh, well, there's some information in there about our church. Oh, well, that's right. I said, hey, I'll come back sometime. Just visit. I know you're busy right now. Yeah, you come back anytime. Don't worry, I will. It's amazing what happens when you do that. What happens if you don't, Lucas? That's exactly right. Let's keep going. What if we set up an evangelistic card ministry? More baptisms happen because of this than anything in our school. And I need you to help. I don't want you to give this to your wife. This is about you. This is about your sons. This is about your daughters. This is about the children that are 4 that can do color by number. This is about the 90-year-old. This is about everybody in this church. This is everybody taking part in an evangelistic card ministry where we're going to send 3 cards a day to every prospect. And if you got a neighbor that's got cancer, they're going to get love, a lot of love. And we're going to surround them with love. And we're going to do it for a period of 2 or 3 weeks. And then Adam and his sweet wife, Autumn, are going to, hey, Adam, And Autumn, there's a couple about a mile down the road. They got cancer. We've been sending cards. They've got 75 cards according to our spreadsheet. Would you go visit them? What's going to happen, gentlemen? What's going to happen when Adam and Autumn pull into a driveway? They knock on a door. This woman has 75 cards in her house. And Adam and Autumn say, "Hi, my name is Adam. This is my wife, Autumn. We're from Petersville. We just wanted to check on you. How you doing?" What do you think they're going? What's she going to do? "You're from Petersville? You sent me 75 cards. Would you like to come on in? I don't need to tell you what to do now, Adam. You're in her house. You're sitting in the living room. Would you like some lemonade? I don't care if you drink it or not. Yes. All right? You're going to take whatever hospitality she offers." More baptisms happen because of that than anything in our school. Now, here's the caveat. If you don't set it up right, it doesn't work. And I'm thankful that we're here, because we're going to show you how a church can set this up where the ladies don't get angry, because they will. If you don't set it up right, they're going to get upset. And the men don't mess it up. All right? And so I love you men, but we're notorious for messing things. Let me give you an example. I'm at Glencoe, and this is the men. I saw this guy do this. So we're going to send a card to this woman. And he goes up there, and I said, "Well, we got to get your card." This is before I knew better. He said, "Oh, I'll just take that one." He put about as much time in picking out a card that I do. I just pick one out. And so he sits down, he writes the card, he sends it off. The man's had an amputation. That's the man we're sending it to. He's had his leg amputated. The card he picked out, "Sorry for your loss." Men don't need to pick out cards. Do you know why women don't pick out cards? "You picked my card. I was going to pick that card. Now we got the same card, and I like that card. Would you? I don't like that card over." I mean, it is an unmitigated disaster. All you wanted to do was send cards, and now you got a bigger problem on your hand than you had before. That's why training and setup is key. We can explain how to set this up where all that's eliminated. That's important. Send cards. What happens when you send cards? Look at her. What happened? What do you think happened to her? I walk inside because Homer Smith said, "Hey, Rob, we've been sending cards to a lady. Her name's Bettina. When you get home, can you and Nicole go see her?" I said, "Yes." And we did. I walked inside her house after she invited me in. She said, "Let me show you the cards y'all sent me. I got 36 cards from your church." She counted them. She knew exactly how many. And she had posted them around. They were taped in various places. And then I got to ask my 3 transition questions. "Hey, Bettina, what do you think about the Jacksonville Church of Christ?" "Oh, nicest church I've ever seen." "Bettina, do you know a lot about the Jacksonville Church of Christ?" "Well, not really." "Bettina, would you like to know more about the Jacksonville Church of Christ?" "Well, sure, I'd like to know a lot more about you." I just so happen to have these little booklets. I said, "Would it be okay if we opened a Bible, maybe use these to guide us?" She said, "Sure." What do you think happened to Bettina? Everything I'm teaching you is not a theory. I don't like theories. I like practice. I want to make sure it works. I do this when I get home. I'm not here just to lecture to you. This is my life. This is what I do. I'm teaching other churches how to do it. When I got to Glencoe, they had 45 members. We have 110 now. That church was going to close their door. I begged them not to do it. I said, "Don't do it. Don't close your doors." I said, "We'll help you." I said, "We'll be members right here." And already this year, we've got 5 baptisms. It's exciting. I got 5 more. Our goal's 10. Just 5 more in the community. These are not, I'm not talking, I love our children. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about our neighbors. Kingdom growth. That's a visitor bag. What's the number one thing a visitor wants when they walk into the door? They want to what? To be greeted. Thank you, Jim. They want to be greeted. Anybody else? What do they want? Yes, sir. Yeah, that's right. They want to be happy. Okay, anybody else? What does a visitor want when they walk in the door? They want information. They want to know a little bit more about you. All good answers, waiting for the correct one. They want something to take home with them. That's not a bad answer. So the Pew Research Center did a poll among religious people. It said, what is the number one thing you want when you visit a church? The overwhelming answer, beyond any others, not even close, to sit down. To sit down. So what should we do when visitors walk into the doors? Sit down. Let them sit down. Just invite them in, let them sit. So we have something called door greeters. You got some pretty good door greeters. They're not the prettiest things, but you've got some. Okay? You got your door greeters. You're pointing at me. All right. So we got some door greeters. You know what we need, though? We need pew greeters. What if we trained, I don't know, 6 families in this church to be pew greeters? What's a pew greeter? I'll show you. I'll be a pew greeter. Adam, would you be a visitor? I'll show you what I do. So if Adam's a visitor and I'm a pew greeter, I'm either going to sit in front or behind him. Now, we're highly trained. You're Navy SEALs. We're going to put you through training before we let you do this. And we're not going to use Gabby Gossip. Gabby Gossip will not be a pew greeter. And we're not going to use Angry Fred. Where are you? Angry Fred somewhere. We're not going to use you. Only people that have this ability, talent. This is their skill. Hey, my name's Rob. You visiting this morning?
Yeah, Adam.
Adam, nice to meet you, Adam. Hey, where are you visiting from?
I live up the road.
Glad you're here. Wait a minute. Man, we love visitors at this church. In fact, we got something for you. I got a gift. Let me go I'm supposed to give gifts to visitors. I'll be right back, Adam. I'm going to go get the ladies right now are being trained to go shopping in the name of the Lord. They're excited about this. They love to shop. We're going to grab the gift basket. I'm going to pull it on over. We're going to give him the gift. So I'm going to hand it to him. I said, we got a few gifts to give you, Adam. In fact, we're just glad you're here. And hey, you know what? We're kind of a card-sending church. We like to send cards to visitors and thanking them for coming. Would it be okay if I got your address so we could send a card to you?
Sure.
What's the traditional way we get that information? How do we normally get that information? In the back of the pew in front of you, there are these visitor cards. If you fill one, do they fill them out? Do they fill them out? About 20% is the average, 20%. That means 80% of them don't fill it out. So we got people that are visiting that walk in our doors, they sit down and they leave, and we have no idea where they live. If you do what I just taught you, you'll get it 99% of the time. You have to be very intentional about visitors. Why am I tell you what, I spend a lot of time training about visitors. Here's why. They're baptized at the highest rate. No contact is baptized at a higher rate than a visitor. Lifeway did a study recently, and here's what they discovered. The average church of 100 needs 3 to 5 visitors per week to grow. 3 to 5. So we got to figure out how many visitors are coming. If we're not getting the numbers, let's increase our visitors. And let's ask our members to help us with that. There's so much I could talk about right now with visitors. But the number one thing you want from a visitor is our contact information, Brother McAdams. If we don't know where they live, we can't follow up with them. If they walk out the door and we never get a record of their attendance, but we're never going to let that happen again. We're going to have Navy SEALs ready to sit. And by the way, Adam, once I sit down, that's it. You're it. I don't get up. That's where I'm going to sit the rest of the service. And after service, I'm going to look around and I'm going to say, hey, what'd you think of our preacher? What'd you think of him, Adam?
I mean, he's all right.
I set him up for that, didn't I? And I said, Adam, I said, we got a little custom here at this church. My wife and I like to take families out to dinner. Could we take you out to dinner?
Sure.
That's stage 2. Brethren, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So this lesson was supposed to be very applicable. I'm just trying to give you a flavor or a taste of what evangelism looks like. Do you have to be a preacher to do this stuff? No. And that's what I want you to realize. We don't need you to be theologians. I just need you to care. Gentlemen, I need you to go fishing. I need us to stand in the gap. I need us to lead. And I really believe this church can do it. To the elders of the church, thank you for asking us to be here. I love you guys. You're my brothers. Our Lord is worthy of this fight. He is worthy. And I really believe that we can help, we can change, and we can reach the lost. Let's pray. Our Father, we're thankful for this church. We're thankful for her elders. We thank you for her preachers. We thank you for her members. And tonight, for those who are visiting, we thank thee. Father, help us to be more mindful of the lost. Help us to focus on reaching the lost like never before. Give these men courage as they begin to train and to transform the culture and Father, develop contacts, and just help us, Father, to never lose sight of the cross. And Father, we thank thee for the Petersville Church of Christ. God bless her to grow. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.